What began in June 2024 as a space to amplify autistic and neurodivergent voices has grown into something far bigger. A platform for raw, honest conversations about neurodivergence, disability, burnout, inclusion, mental health, and how our identities shape the way we move through the world. From the start, our mission has been clear: to go beyond the headlines, beyond stereotypes, and explore the real lived experiences that often go unheard. Over the past year, we've spoken with parents, professionals, educators, advocates, and everyday people, all united by a commitment to building a more inclusive and accessible world. But what's mattered most is the community. Those of you who listen, share, and remind us, finally, someone gets it. Thank you for being here. This is just the beginning.
Looking for authentic conversations that go beneath the surface? Tune in now to the Deep Dive podcast. Visit us at www.deepdiveau.net. That's deepdiveau.net. And follow us across your favorite platforms: YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and Facebook. Just search at the Deep Dive AU. Join us as we dive deep into stories of neurodivergence, lived experience, and creating a more inclusive world. The Deep Dive podcast. Conversations that matter. Stories that connect.
This is the Deep Dive podcast. And here is your host, Michael Coles.
Zoe Atterbury is the founder of Bloom Cycle, a Brisbane-based female-led social enterprise that transforms timber waste into handcrafted trophies, awards, and keepsakes. As a neurodivergent entrepreneur, Zoe leads with lived experience, championing inclusive employment and sustainable design. Bloom Cycle proves that creativity is currency and that recognition can be imagined for good. Zoe Atterbury, welcome to the Deep Dive.
Thank you for having me.
So what inspired you to start Bloom Cycle?
Well, it originally started Christmas 2023, and that was just with me making sunflowers to hand out to people on Christmas Day. And then it kind of went from there with selling the flowers, and then kind of hit a bit of like a rough autistic burnout, and during that time is when I made a trophy just for myself, and then the trophies kind of started from there, and that's what I've been doing since.
How does Bloom Cycle embody the concept of a social enterprise, and what entrepreneurial opportunities exist in similar mission-driven business models?
I guess for me, like before I started Bloom Cycle, I didn't even know that having a social enterprise was a thing. So like, I never thought to be in any kind of business myself or run a business, because I thought businesses were all about like profits and not caring about people or anything else. But then I realized there's a space between like non-for-profits and businesses that are social enterprises. So I guess for me, it means being a business for good, and having values that give back to the community, and just being like, what's the right word? Yeah, just being good for people.
Okay, so what role did sustainability in the circular economy play in shaping your value proposition for your company?
I guess with what we do, so we make trophies from construction waste. So for me, it's all about repurposing materials and not letting them go to landfill. And on a more like personal side, I guess that's how I felt when I reached like a really bad autistic burnout, and like finding in the beauty in myself again. And that's how I feel when I make the trophies as well, is like refinding the beauty in things. So it's like a core part of the whole social enterprise.
Okay, so how did your company Bloom Cycle utilize mentorship and small business support programs to help build a solid foundation?
I guess the whole reason my business started was after I made the sunflowers, is I did a pre-accelerator program with the Queensland government, and that was really life-changing for me, because that was the first time from a business point of view where people, I guess, believed in me and told me I could do it. I guess before then, I just didn't think someone like me could ever have a business. So it was a total change in mindset. And then Through that, I found a great mentor who I'm still in touch with. And I've also been doing a mentorship program through the Australian Disability Network. And I found that really helpful. So kind of making sure that the mentors I find are kind of in a safe space and understand how I work. Because
And I think that's very important from that type of thing, because with autistic people, I know sort of like, having the right mentorship and stuff like that is so important. So what strategies did you use to stand out in the awards and trophies market?
I guess like when I go to events and networking, I'm very like, I guess like an open book, and just really upfront and really open book about how the whole thing started, which I think people kind of enjoy and find refreshing, and like they kind of seem to remember the story. And like I'm very straight to the point and no BS, so I think it's a bit refreshing sometimes. And honestly, just like being true to myself and like not trying to mask or like appear differently in the business has worked for me well so far. And also like being able to say no to opportunities that don't really align with me or that I know like won't be good for my mental health.
Okay, so how can entrepreneurs like you incorporate lived experiences like neurodivergence and strengths in business leadership?
I guess for me, like the whole reason I have my own business is to be able to have a job where it doesn't lead to complete burnout as every other job has for me. So it's like a huge part of what I do, and I'm working on my own burnout informed work design. So I have very strict boundaries with myself, even when I don't always want to follow them, of, like how many days a week I work on the business and putting in actual creative rest breaks, I call them, and things like that. And trying just not comparing myself to neurotypical standards that I've been trying to reach my whole life. Since I started doing what's best for me, everything has gotten a whole lot better.
Okay, so what challenges did Bloom Cycle face balancing personal responsibilities like your motherhood, for example, and your neurodivergence with your entrepreneurial ideal goals, so to speak?
It's so hard. I guess like just from understanding what my real capacity is, it sometimes makes me feel like I'm, like not moving fast enough or falling behind or not like fitting into that kind of hustle culture. So that can be really hard sometimes when other people have different views on what I should be doing and when. But I guess at the end of the day, like it's really important to know what your own boundaries are and your own capacity, because if I go over my capacity, then I can't do anything. So it's really important to honor that.
Okay, so how did you validate your business idea prior to launch?
Well, I guess from making my own trophy, and I was like, oh, this feels really good to give myself something, and then just from sharing it online, it kind of went from there. So I guess just putting it out there. Like I used to never share anything on social media, but I specifically shared that trophy, like just telling people what was going on, and I was like in a pretty bad way. And look, here's something I made for myself. So I guess just actually putting stuff out there and just like following your gut and what you think is right.
Okay, so what role did branding and storytelling, such as your personal backstory and mission, play in Bloom Cycle's client attraction strategy?
I guess it's a huge part of it. Like, I think everyone who has bought something from my business kind of knows the story behind it, and it really adds to it. And like compared to things I've done in the past, it's really nice to be able to just be an open book and like be upfront and tell people I have flaws and things like that. And I think people will appreciate it. So just like, yeah, just being 100% honest about what I do and like why I do it has really helped.
Okay, so how can small business partner with local organisations, councils, or events to create visibility and impact, and actually create some collaboration within your organisation?
Yeah, I mean, I find that hard. Like for me, I find networking and things like that really exhausting, and a big drainer on the capacity. But I do find it really helpful finding, I guess I would call them like cheerleaders for you. So finding the people that already have some kind of connection to you or like to neurodivergence or what your mission is and helping them advocate for you. Like you want people to be talking about how great you are in rooms that you aren't in and like, yeah, being like free cheerleaders like along the way. I find that really helpful.
Okay, so what are effective ways for entrepreneurs to learn business fundamentals like finance, marketing, and planning?
Uh, that can be tricky. I know, like, for me, for the best program I did is a one that was specifically for autistic entrepreneurship, and that was through a program that Dr. Sharon, I can't remember her last name, runs. And it's all about how like the autistic mind works and how that means setting up a business for us can be different, and we just have a different way of thinking. So I'd really recommend that course. And I was lucky enough to have that funded with my NDIS plan, so that was really awesome to be the first person to be able to do that. And just like if something, not always thinking I have to do everything like the typical way, because a lot of what you get taught about having a business or like coming up with ideas doesn't suit like my monotropic thinking, and like really have to be like what I'm working on really has to be a big interest of mine, or I'm not going to want to do it. So like just knowing how to work with my brain and not against it.
Okay, that's really important. So, how did Bloom Cycle leverage community and peer networks during its early growth phase?
I'm in a really awesome peer network through a company called Neurokindred, and they've got a autistic social entrepreneur networking group. So that's been really good. Like to be able to go and talk with people who get it, because it can be pretty hard when you kind of leave your safe area and talk to people outside of the space and just not on the same page. And also, like, I've been really upfront with places if I am going to something and ask about like accessibility requirements or if I can bring a support worker and things like that. And if the vibe doesn't seem right, I won't go to that event. So
Okay,
finding the places that are really accessible for me and not wasting my time with places that I think are just going to bring me down.
okay. So, how do values and like ethics and sustainability inform product design and operations at Bloom Cycle?
It's something I've been working on is not like people pleasing and saying yes to everything. So that's something I've been working on with the business too. So like really only taking on customers that align with my own values um, has been really important. Yeah.
Okay, so how can entrepreneurs monitor social and environmental impacts such as waste reduction or marginalized community support as part of their business metrics?
Yes, I'm still working on that, but I have, for me, like with the waste, I'll spreadsheet how much I'm collecting and then how much I'm using. So keeping track of the numbers, because at the start I wasn't, and I realized how important it is to have those numbers to back you. And then also from an employment perspective, putting measures in to like track how staff are doing and how like working with Bloom Cycle has positively like changed their life. So trying to measure what people say, and also the same with feedback from customers and everything is getting those testimonials and things like that. Yeah, it's important to have the proof behind you because anyone can kind of say it, I guess, but it's good when you can actually show the facts.
Okay, so what lessons can be learned from Bloom Cycle's scaling journey, completing business training, coaching, and programs to transitioning from idea to sustainable business?
I mean, if I could go back, well, it's happened now, but like just trying to keep my own capacity in check and knowing, really being upfront with myself about how much I can do without completely crashing. So like, and trying not to compare yourself to other people, even if it feels like everyone around you is kind of racing ahead and being so much more productive than you. I found that like for me, being productive purposefully is so much better than just trying to work nonstop all day, every day.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And final question we'd like to ask everybody here on the Deep Dive podcast is, if there's one bit of advice you'd like to give in 30 seconds or less, what would that be?
I think a thing I tell myself, and something I've made on a trophy as well for myself, is progress over perfection. So starting is better than nothing, and like how my business started was from me stopping trying to be perfect and just putting something out there.
On that note, Zoe Atterbury, thank you so much for being part of the Deep Dive podcast today.
Thank you for having me. It was awesome.
You can connect with Zoe on Instagram at bloom.cycle or go to bloomcycle.com.au.